Hello, guys. I want to tell you about ISSN, and I have with me Dr. Jose Antonio. He's the bad boy, and a bad boy. He's a man who runs the ISSN, in my how it is. And I've known Jose for for 10 years. When I moved over to Florida, he was there, and that's how we connected. I got into the science, and since I don't have any degrees or something, it was so cool to kind of see like, well, we can actually educate you on how to understand such studies and science. So Jose, what got you started with the whole thing of sports nutrition? What was the reason?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you calling me the bad boy of sports nutrition. That's probably the best introduction I've ever gotten, to be honest. Better than just rattling off whatever degree I got way back when. But anyhow, okay. So how did I start it, or how did we start it? It actually goes back. I don't know how much history you know, but if you let's go back to Jack LaLanne. He said back in the 1930s, he said, if you lifted weights, it was good for you. And doctors and scientists said, no, Jack, you're a moron. You don't know what you're talking about. Then you go to the 1960s, a guy named Kenneth Cooper. He was actually a medical doctor. He said, you know what? If you do cardio, it's good for your heart. But doctors and scientists said, it's not good for you. There were even physicians, I remember, and you're much younger than me, but I remember as a kid, there were physicians who said, you don't want to exercise because you'll run out of heartbeats. You only have X number of heartbeats. So if you exercise to get your heart rate up, you're going to run out. And I'm thinking, that just sounds stupid. So that's the 1960s. Now let's go back to, let's say, the 1980s. In 1980s, the American College of Sports Medicine came up with this brilliant idea saying that lifting weights you didn't need to do. Which of course made absolutely no sense. And they also said this, and you'll love this. They said sports supplements were a total waste of time because all you need to do is eat your food, blah, 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 blah. And so if we fast forward to the year 2000, by this time I already had a PhD, there were no academic organizations that actually did anything remotely serious about sports nutrition or supplementation. In fact, the only accepted supplement, we'll use the word supplement, back in the 1990s it begins with a G. You know what it is, Pauline? It's something you drink, begins with a G.
Green tea?
Begins with a G.
It ends with a G?
Begins.
Oh, I thought it was like green tea, but caffeine, but no.
Gatorade.
Oh, really? Oh, that was a lot of money in that.
Right. So Gatorade owned the market. So, the culture of the time was Gatorade works, Gatorade's good, supplements suck, you don't need more protein, creatine, none of this stuff. It just didn't make any sense. So a group of us in the early 2000s, we got together, and then we decided, why don't we just do our own organization that focuses on sports nutrition and supplements? And so the ISSN was born in the year 2003. In fact, last few months ago, we had our 20th anniversary conference. So literally, here's what's interesting and what's funny. You sat through my class. What year were you in Florida? What year was that?
Oh, it was 2014. I invested in 5 days of training. Yeah, I love that. That's my plan again. I'm coming after you.
So think of this, 2014. If you just go back 15 years, going to the 1990s, sports nutrition as a course in college almost didn't exist. There were very few colleges. Now you go to the year 2023, sports nutrition as a college course is almost at every college now. It went from literally being the black sheep of the academic family to, oh my God, we need to have a sports nutrition course because it's so cool. Everyone loves this stuff. And it's like, wait a minute, when I was in grad school, people made fun of this category. Now they all want to do it because it's so cool now. So that's really, the reason. That's why we created ISSN, because we wanted to get people who thought there was great science here, and we wanted to introduce the practitioners to the scientists so that they were aware of the different kinds of supplements. Obviously, some work, and then some are, as you know, Pauline, some is just total horseshit. I mean, and yeah, people.
I have to tell you. So, guys, do you know one thing that Jose drilled me through? Because I said, okay, I can only count cash and calories, right? And so I wanted Jose to teach me how to read studies, to understand meta studies, how to actually understand, is this of value? Should I try it or not? So really about how to interpret data. And you showed me all these different, the graphs and stuff, and explained the difference of training and how they can manipulate the stores, and having that insight compared to kind of all the marketing. If you don't know how to read things, like, you are gonna be a fool, and buying whatever. And you told me one really good thing that I like relate to everyone. If it's a supplement, let's say, should you take it or not? If there's a benefit and you might have a reason to take it, and there's no negative adverse effect known, why not? So I love that.
Yeah, in fact, I always say, if it helps or has a neutral effect, give it a shot.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I'll give you an example of a supplement that, particularly if you're already in great shape like yourself, will it help? Okay. Glutamine. I've had this conversation with a lot of people. Should I take glutamine? And I'm thinking, okay, it's not going to harm you. It's not going to harm you. It might help your gut. That's number one. If you do crazy amount of exercise, which I know you don't run marathons, Pauline, but you do crazy exercise. If you do hard enough exercise, glutamine might help you in terms of bolstering your immune system. Now, who is glutamine not going to help? It's not going to help the people who come to you and, Pauline, I work out 3 times a week. I walk and I'm so tired. I don't know what to do. I'm like, no, it's not going to help you because you don't do enough exercise to matter. But for someone who beats, who crushes it, 5-6 times a week and really, really challenges themselves, maybe it does help. It's not going to hurt you, but it might help.
One thing that I also love about this, of the education, that I'm really pushing on to, like, when people ask me, is this true or not? I'm like, if you can educate you what questions to ask, you're going to have less of, I don't know who to trust. But because at the end, we never know what to trust and so on, because there's so much money and investors. Like, even though you make your whole life into thinking, then you're stuck in thinking out something and you have no life. So what I notice with people nowadays is that there's so much about, changing your genetics and influencing that, but everyone loves to not talk about the big chunks of nutrition, or like regular principles. You have a really good thing that I love, the standards, isosands, position stance, or I can never get it right. What is that?
Oh, the isosand position stance. No, actually, I sort of harken back to what you just alluded to. There's a saying that if you want to make money, make it complicated, but if you want it to work, keep it simple. And here's the thing. I've listened to you enough that I know the kind of advice you give the people. And I know in their mind, they're thinking, wait, that's all I need to do? Well, the problem is it sounds simple, but it's hard to do. People think simple is easy. No, simple can be hard.
You can see through it. They don't see it because they're like, this is what all clients come to me. Pauline, I need this, I need to do that, I need exactly know what to do, and this is what I need for my body. I'm like, okay, I got it. So why don't you have these results then? And they're like, and then they forget what I call about. It's when you're focused, when you're home, you're doing your macros, you do meal delivery, everything's perfect, that works. Then you go to a vacation. Now you don't know how to live anymore because you don't have your little meal preps. You don't know how to think simple. What matters in calories, like in the range. So it's all this kind of acute thinking all the time. They want to have a supplement. The next day, I feel it. It works. Like, caffeine and uppers, you feel. You won't feel fish oil. Yeah, runny nose, maybe like blood, you bleed more. But you will not feel it. All these things are building up over time to influence your genetics and so on. It's like people, they give it like one day. Like, I don't feel it. So they only want cocaine.
Yeah, it's they don't understand. A lot of it is delayed gratification. It's
that's fitness 101. Everything when you don't want it anymore.
And I guess to you and I, it's strange because we're used to doing what we do. We don't even think about it. To us, it's normal. When people talk about it's hard for them to work out or exercise regularly. To you and I, it's not even a thought. You just do it. It's like, I say, it's like brushing your teeth. Do you think about brushing your teeth? You just brush your teeth. You brush it in the morning.
Don't. One of my exes, he never used floss. I'm like, you're living in this time of age and you don't floss your teeth? What else are you not flossing? Right? It's like, Jesus.
Makes me wonder who you choose, Pauline. No.
I have learned my lesson. Trust me.
But anyways, going back to the position stands, we came up with this idea like about 15 years ago where because there are people who say, okay, what should I read? And it's like, I'm not going to read 20 research papers. In fact, scientists barely have time to read 20 research papers. So we decided to get some of the best minds in the industry, in the science industry, and say, hey, why don't we write a position paper on protein, on creatine, on caffeine, so that people can read one paper. They can just read the summary. They don't even have to read the paper. They just read the summary, and it will provide, at least at the time, the best scientific information on that category. In fact, we just had one, you'll love this. We just had one published on coffee, a position paper on coffee, all the benefits of coffee and whatnot. We're going to have one on mixed martial arts on the fight sports. We're going to redo the protein one. We're going to redo probably the creatine one. So as the science changes, we need to start adding things to it. And in fact, let me tell you a little bit about the creatine one. How many grams of creatine do you take a day, if you take any?
About 3 grams, very small. Like, I don't want to have it big.
That's actually what I do. I do 3 grams a day. I've been doing it forever.
Why overdo it? It's better than less. You have less of too much.
Yeah, but here's what's interesting. We recommend 3 to 5 grams a day based on how skeletal muscle responds, because let's face it, all we care about is how we look, right? You got to have pretty biceps. You got to have pretty biceps, like you. So we're like all about muscle, all about muscle. However, if you look at some of the neuroscience literature, it might take a higher dose to get to the brain. And there are some people who recommend 5 to 10 grams a day for this, whereas for muscle, 3 grams a day actually is good. And I'm thinking,
how does that affect the kidneys? Just it's that kind of extra, it's 100% more. Does that impact anything? Because we know all about you are the science who explain that protein is not the kidney hater, like how it works and so on. So this is a lot of creatine. And is there something to concern about with people who come and, they have the bad blood, the filtration rate isn't the best and so on?
Wait, you're talking about creatine?
Yeah, like when you say those big doses for the brain benefits, is that going to be like me? I have apparently gout, so I can't take choline, which is everyone's rage right now. Like, oh, how can you not have choline? Like, oh, So that same, I think, you wonder about this. Is that dosage? Would you say that's like too much if you have an issue already?
If you have an issue already, then it probably would be too much. And here's the thing, also. Because you're a lot smaller than the average male, you probably don't need 10 grams. Maybe for you, 3 grams over a very long period of time will be enough for your brain.
Maybe that's not as stupid anymore today as compared to 5 years ago.
Could be that, or the fish oil, maybe. You never know.
So I want to know about. I asked you. It's so important to understand, like for me, taking care of my body and health is pretty much like, it starts with about looks. That when we're young, we don't care about, heart attacks and stuff. Nowadays, I wonder how people can feel like, how can you not have filled with anxiety and stress all the time, knowing what you're not doing for your body if you're not taking care? Like I can really feel, if I went and ate something, I just like, oh, I can see how my glucose and insulin is going to go up. All the things, too aware of that. So then I wonder, people, if we are not moving our bodies and we're not training our kids to have athletic life, can you tell me then why it's going to be critical to kind of wake up for humanity if you want to have athletic structure, if we want to be able not be a fatty kind of French fry string bean who cannot move because you're going to break like an eggshell? Can you tell me why it's important to take care of our genes now, like a whole, like a species?
Wait, are we talking about the human species where 70% of the population is overweight or obese? Are we talking about?
Yes. Yes. And COVID didn't kill everyone, so we still have the problem that, we have to take care of our bodies. So what do you think is going to be the future? Is it going to be minority that's going to be fit? Or what do you think?
Well, okay. No, it's interesting. It's kind of an interesting sociocultural question. Here's a few facts. One, the average American woman is like 5'3", 5'4", weighs 170 pounds, and that's not muscle. That is not muscle. So think about that.
Yeah.
That, Pauline, that's average. Now think that means there's as many women. There's a lot of women above 170 who are 5'3", 5'4". So there's that. And here's another one. And I know you're aware of this. Why is it that the body acceptance movement, the fat acceptance movement, is only with women? Guys,
Because
here's
women wants to eat and not be told you're not shouldn't because you're gonna die from a heart attack. Women wants to just eat. Yeah.
hey, but they all say they're beautiful.
I know. And this is what I told my women. Again, like women, you're all gonna hate me, but this had to go out. I told them on podcast. Ladies, stop treating that being a sex object is the most important thing for you, because the dude, the pervs, your husband, he's gonna love your fat belly too much, so you're gonna die before you should. Because for you, you just want to be sexy. He loves your big belly or your big butt. And he's gonna find his way. But here's the thing: you have to take care of your body. It's not about being sexy. So that's how I feel. It's not about, you know, don't treat your body like a trash can and someone's just gonna put something in to kind of to do that. So it's like, I wonder, why do women all want to be sexy? Is it just so they can eat? That's what I think. So this is what they love to do. So I'm gonna be unhealthy, but then it's not about being happy with yourself. You're just lazy and not care about your health.
The thing is, like put it this way, I've known enough guys who gain weight and lose weight, and when they get fat, they say, "God, I'm fat. I better lose weight." That's a guy. But a girl will never say to themselves, "God, I'm fat. I need to lose weight." They never
do. It's PMS, or it's PMS every month, and it's been for a long time, and nobody ever learns. And then they're gonna say, women are intuitive. Like, yeah, that's why you eat the cookies all the time, because you follow your intuition, and the intuition says, "Eat, bitch," because otherwise you're gonna be angry.
What the hell is intuitive eating, anyways? What the hell is that?
That is how you stay fat and never get lean. Because I tell everyone that in the moment you're gonna see your body's like, wait, is she getting too lean now? Might we die? And the fat is like, yeah, okay. Then they tell the pituitary, hey, speed up the interest. Where's McDonald's? And then here's the person, and then it's like, oh, McDonald's. How could they know? And then I feel bad, but I'm hungry. I don't want to starve. I'm like, but you ate for 5 people already. So that's how life is. I'm sorry.
Well, no, you had me way back when on the belly.
But it's crazy, huh? They're almost like it's the fat empowerment is more about having the big butt and then show that off, because then you can get away with having a fat belly, that you're going to have a heart disease and type 2 diabetes and pancreatic cancer. You're going to really maximize all the stuff that is going to come your way.
Yeah, you know what? Well, in a way, you might say it's a self-limiting problem, because I hate to say it, but a lot of these people are going to die young because they're obese or severely overweight. So it becomes self-limiting. In fact, there are these, I guess, I don't know what it means to be called a fat influencer. I'm sure you've seen this on social media, but sometimes these fat influencers, some of them die young, and they're not.
And nobody asks, why? Yeah. Like, hello, what are you performing? Yeah. I'm sorry, but all this food, like that guy, what is his name? Dwayne Johnson. Why is he just showing how much junk food he eats in front of kids? And kids are like, oh my God, I love you. Why is he, can he not just have some balls and just like, hey guys, you're going to be fat if you do this. You're not going to be muscular like me. That takes other stuff, and a whole other routine. So like it's like almost like, I feel like how low level of awareness can he be if he sits there and eats like, that much, or just pretend? What kind of responsibility is that? And he wanted to go into politics at some point. I'm like, oh, that's worse.
Yeah, it's almost like he's being apologetic to people who eat that way, saying, hey, I can eat this way too. And it seems like a weird virtue signal to me that he does. It's
like the same thing, like the girls who say, like, like, I can have balance, I can have a hamburger too. And like, but you are always trying to check your macros. And if you have a gram off, you freak out and you have a identity crisis. So how much balance is that? So he's like, I want to say about the education with ISSN again, to kind of go back to that. Okay. When you're part of the ISSN, when you join here and you go for the conference, you get a continuous education. Can you tell me then that, one of the things that you do is like you educate how to reach studies, you have the stand-up position and so on. So for people who don't understand, this is what they come to me. They say, like, Pauline, I read a book about bodybuilding in 2001, and that is how I want it to be, like a Bible that stays the same as story. I'm going to tell it to my kids. But you are keeping up with science and always revising, and things are not staying the same. Can you then explain that? That is so important to be here, to be current. You can't read CLA and fat-free carb puddings, in 1993.
Yeah, what's interesting in the sports nutrition category, the science changes relatively quickly, more so than actually other sciences. So that's why, if you went to the conference 10 years ago and didn't show up for another 10 years, you'd probably be shocked how much new information there is. And we're always trying to change our conclusions based on new data. And a lot of times we don't know. We'll just, I'll say, hey, I don't know. I'd say give it a shot. If it's not going to harm you, let's give it a shot. But at the end of the day, you have to at least have some objective measure for giving advice, regardless of what the advice is. Whether it's the type of diet you prescribe, whether it's the type of supplements supplement advice you give, it has to be based on the latest research. And that's why with the position stands, which you alluded to earlier, that's why we try to revise it every 5 years, because after 5 years, you're reading this, you're like, oh shit, I don't know if I want to tell people to read this anymore, because it's kind of obsolete, and that's just 5 years.
I love
So,
that.
so we gotta remedy it.
So Jose, it's like you're so right about there's no other place to go to have this kind of specific thing. And for me, like, I'm an athlete without a sport. Like, I just live like an athlete. I want everyone to have at least an experience in trying to live the way the body and the mind is gonna be happiest. Because there's a reason why there's so many depressed and hate their body, because you're not living according to how your physiology is supposed to be taken care of. Like, nobody had taught how to manage your health, because that is not tough or cool, because it's all about losing weight to gain. Like, it's all about the scale up and down, and not about how to take care of your health. And like, I'm just wondering, about how people are. How do you? I mean, I'm not a parent, but how do you parent kids about things that you're not doing yourself, and how they're gonna have that later?
I don't know if it's possible. If you're not doing it, I don't know if your kids will do it.
That's what I mean. So they're like just gonna go on McDonald's. This is what they believe, and then try to eat healthy. They're gonna have farts, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is bad." I'm like, "Yeah, you don't."
I remember my kids, because my kids were exposed to exercise when they were very, very young. In fact, we forced them to exercise. But here's the funny part. One actually liked it. She didn't ever complain. The other one was, she would bitch and moan but she would do it. But she would bitch and moan. Now she goes to the gym by herself because she likes doing it. Yeah. So for years she hated it. I mean, we made her work out. We're like, you're going to work out. Get up. I don't care if you're napping. You're going to work out. So after, I figured out, after a while, they're going to just adopt a habit, and it'll be a part of their life. Now, let me tell you a story about my class. I teach a sports nutrition and a sports neuroscience class. Here's the kicker. One class is mostly exercise science majors. The other class is mostly neuroscience majors. Let's just say this. If you were to look at both classes, you would know which class is exercise science, and I won't describe it any more than that. But anyway, so the neuroscience majors, and some of them are psychology majors, I ask them, I say, so what do you think is the single best thing you could do for your brain? And they think, they're like, well, you got to sleep, you got to eat well. I'm like, it's exercise. How many of you exercise? Raise your hand. Maybe one person, one out of a class of 30.
So guys, we had an amazing conversation with Dr. Jose Antonio, and then we got cut off. That is how it is. There was so much fire that we just broke the internet. So I want you all to go and join the ISSN, and for the annual conference, I said annual, not anal, but it's annual conferences every year, and you're gonna meet me there. And this year I couldn't go because of hacked pages and business, but that is one of my motivation. I love to go and see Jose and everyone there. But we also have a lot of different conferences throughout the year. So go to the ISSN website. I don't have it completely now, but we're going to link it out there so you see it on the podcast. Go and check out Dr. Jose Antonio. He's one of my favorite people in the world. He's not a bullshitter, as in, science, he's all the degrees and so on, but I've known him for 10 years. And he's one of those people in my life. He's like one of those holders, that I like. He will not tell me what I want to hear. He will not say yes, Pauline, like you have to explain to me. And I love that. He kind of conditions me to explain myself. So I have to think, not just be stupid. Thank you, Jose. Thank you for this time. And everyone now, remember this, you got to use this too. Okay. Adios.